Hello everyone and welcome back to Sarang Menon Academy. So in this video, we'll be discussing about variables, data types and format specifiers in C. So let's get started. So let's first open our compiler and let's delete this example code. And now let's learn the concept of variables. So what are variables? Variables are basically containers. Now what that means? Now suppose you are given some fruits and you have been asked to segregate those fruits and store it inside each container. So you will take a box and you will store fruits. You can store in a box you will store cherries, in another box you will store apples, in another box strawberries and so on. So in the concept of programming, variables act similarly to what in real life we say about containers or boxes, because variables are containers in which we store values. So we can store values such as numbers, alphabets or a string of characters, which means words or sentences. Now let's start coding. So first of all I have to write hash include, then inside angular brackets stdio.h, then I have to write int main, then open curly braces, and inside curly braces we will write our code. And the first data type which we are going to learn is about integer. Now why are we learning data types before variables? Because in programming languages like C and C++, while creating a variable, we need to also specify its data type. Now if you have learned language such as Python, you might have noticed that in Python I can simply create a variable like x equal to 5 or y equal to 1 without specifying the data type. I can add any value inside the variable. But in languages such as C and C++, it's necessary to specify which data type we are going to use. And if I specify the data type which is on integers, I can only store integers inside that variable. So the first data type is integers. Now, like the name says, integers store integers. It stores whole numbers, natural numbers and 0. And it also stores negative numbers also. Now while talking about data types, what basically are data types? Data types are actually the categories that we give to values. For example, integers, we are giving it a category to which helps us to classify that those values belong to integers. Those are integer values. Means 0 is an integer, 1 is an integer, like that. We are giving categories to them which helps us to classify their values and categorize it accordingly. Now the second data type is double. Now double data type is used to store decimal numbers, because integers does not handle decimal numbers. That's why there is another data type called double, which is used to store decimal numbers. The third data type is char. Now char data type is used to store a character, only a single character. It can be any single alphabet. We can't store words or sentences inside it. Now let's learn how to create a variable in C. In order to create a variable in C, firstly we have to write the data type of the variable. So since we are going to create a variable which will contain integers, I'll write int. Then after writing the data type, I'll write the variable name, which would be x or y, any name I can give. For this example I am writing x, then an equal to sign, then I write my integer. So my integer I'll just take it as 1, and after 1 I have to put a semicolon. Now you might have noticed that in our main function also we have specified int. Now that means this main function returns the value of integers. Now we'll talk about the concept of returning and functions in later part of this series. But for now, just understand that we are using this integer inside the function to return some value of this function is returned as an integer. It can be 0, 1, some value is returned as an integer. That's why we are mentioning data type. Now the next variable we are going to create is of data type. Let's take double because it shows decimal numbers. So we'll write double, then y equal to 2.5 and let's put a semicolon. Now let's create another variable which stores characters, a single character. So in order to create a character, a char data type, we'll write char. Then I'll write the name of the data type, name of the variable. Let's take 1 or a, and inside it I'll store any letter. And while we write any value inside the char data type, we have to write it inside a single quote, not in double quote, inside a single quote. Inside a single quote, let me write any character. Let's take a, and then let's put a semicolon. Now we have created 3 variables of 3 different data types. Now let's hit enter and let's learn how to print the values of these variables. Now in order to print the values of variables in C, we need to print it along with the format specifier. Now what are those format specifiers? We'll discuss it in a moment. So in order to print anything in C, we have already learned in our previous video that we have to write printf, then open parenthesis, and then we write our text. Now while printing the values of variables, we have to firstly specify the format specifier. So in order to specify the format specifier, we write it inside double quotations. And since I am going to print the value of x, which is an integer variable, the format specifier for integers is %d. So I have to write %d and then put a comma and then x, and then after parenthesis semicolon. Then if I want to print the value of y, I'll write printf, then format specifier for double would be %f, then put a comma, then I'll write y, then a semicolon. Then for printing the variable a, its value inside it, the format specifier for any character is %c. Then after that I'll put a comma and I'll write a. So you might get confused for the first time after hearing these terms of format specifiers and these separate format specifiers, but with practice you'll easily memorize these format specifiers. So %d is for integers, %s is for double, and %c is for char. Now let's run. As you can see, it has printed everything in a single line. So in our previous video we have already learned that if we want to separate it inside a new line, we'll write \n. So after %d I'll write \n, and after %f I'll write \n. And if I run the code, as you can see, it prints in new line. Now this is how we create variables and store values inside it, and then we print the values of those variables. Now there are many data types in C, but these are the primary data types that we'll use almost 90% of the time. There are also other primary data types like Boolean and so on, which we'll cover in the next videos, because for boolean and other data types we need to add some header files and all, and boolean is primarily used for checking conditions. So our primary goal of this video was to learn what are variables, what are data types, and what are the main format specifiers in C, and how do we store values inside inside variables. So that's a wrap for this video. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share it with your friends and family. Thank you for watching this video.